What it do, guys? It is your boy, Leon Mookie here, back with you with another new chapter of Kamen Rider Deku 01. Once again, guys, I really do appreciate the love and patience you have for this, fan fiction after all. I will not lie, this one has to be I basically have been looking forward to doing for a while now, to be honest. Unlike my other stories where I have a lot of expectations for me, and the ones I put on hold so I can focus on script writing and also cleaning up the story. Not to mention the new fanfics I keep on having pop up in my head all the damn time, which also takes up a lot of time as well. But even so, like I said, I do this stuff mainly out of fun and enjoyment. So letting you guys know this now. At any rate, let's go with that of a recap. In the last chapter, Izuku finally fights as Kamen Rider 01, defeating members from the Meta Liberation Army without even breaking a sweat, showing that the 01 suit is truly beyond capabilities that even surpasses even Quirk's itself. As his years of training in that of fighting, martial arts, weapon styles, and understanding technology has finally come to fruition for this moment alone. Not to mention, the Meta Liberation has plans to try and take coding industries under them due to Hisashi's death. However, little do they know, their little plan and schemes have a little bit of a hiccup, as Izuku is now CEO of his family's company. What will have in store for Izuku now? So, with all that said, let's get into this, shall we, guys? Chapter 3, 01's debut. It's been a few days since the announcement about coding industries passing up the torch, with many people just going on their day-to-day lives, some people not really caring, while some heroes who basically rely on coding industries for that of support gear are a little bit, worried. Especially given certain pros. Currently one pro who basically looks like that of a robot, mainly around that of his body, but when you see his face, he's basically normal, within saying, I'm honestly still, even with coding industry's CEO, Hisashi Midoriya passing, I'm still going to support the company. They've always been loyal and helped out for years. No reason for me to change just because their CEO changed. Within seeing that of another pro hero, a female pro hero with a quite skin-tight uniform that shows quite a bit of inner cleavage, to be honest, with her eyes covered by that of a black visor. Within she's saying, honestly, I'm not so sure about this. Allowing a 18-year-old boy who just graduated high school be in charge of a billion-yen company? That seems like a, mistrusting placement. Why not just wait until he's older or properly trained for stuff like this? Leave it in more capable or responsible hands than a young man who just started. Within another pro hero, looking like that of a man, looking like he's shirtless, however, he's wearing that of a metal plate around his chest and back, completely sleeveless instead of that of two gauntlets on his hands, and wearing that of baggy pants and a helmet that basically covers his entire face outside of his eyes, within saying, honestly, I don't really care about coding industry support gear. I barely use it for my quirk, to be honest. However, coding industries has always been good with that of other stuff in technology, so I always use their computers and software for my agency. Personally, I could care less on who's in charge. As long as I can still get my equipment, that's all that matters to me. These are words from that of several other pro heroes. Many opinions are mixed. However, how about we go from that of the common people, since those are mostly what coding industry is focused on. Focusing on that of a young man heading into work saying, honestly, I rely on coding industries a lot when it comes to support gear. The man known as Hisashi Midoriya is a good man, and if he was looking after his son, it only makes sense that he'll be another good person added to the company. Moving on to that of an older woman who looks like she's actually 40 years old saying, are you kidding me? This is nepotism at its finest. Even I thought for sure Coding Industries was completely different. Basically rely on somebody that's a lot more responsible. But of course, even companies like this have to basically give in to that of their children. And why am I not surprised of all things? It's people like us who had to work our day in and day out to basically stand out, while people like that can just rely on their money to get them by. But then, seeing that of a young woman who actually is wearing an old Aldera high school uniform, but then saying, that's Izuku Midoriya, if I recall. He's a quirkless loser that I came from my high school after all. But honestly, if I knew he was rich, I would have been a lot nicer to him. But then she huffing, saying, doesn't matter. A quirkless loser is still a quirkless loser, no matter how rich he is. Within on the crowd, being that of a familiar blonde-haired young man with a smile on his face and basically sparkles all around him, is saying, if they believe he is capable, then Ma should be able to show himself, show how much he sparkles. Quirk or not, no quirk. He should be able to stand out as he please. With then everybody getting uncomfortable seeing around that of this blonde, being Aoyama after all. Back in the newsroom, as the reporter continues saying, you heard it here, folks. Everything's a mixed bag here and there, but finding out that the young man is also quirkless. Could this cause quite a bit of a stir for that of Coding Industries' new CEO? Within, the TV basically shatters as a remote was basically thrown into it. As this being one of the leaders of the Meta Liberation Army, Copy, within him couldn't help but basically huff over and over again and couldn't help but get annoyed at this, saying, damn it. I didn't think that bastard Midoriya would basically have this much of a contingency plan. Even if the brat is quirkless, Coding Industries still has a CEO. Which also means Yaoyorozu, the conglomerate, wouldn't basically fold under us with Coding basically done for. Damn it all! After all the planning I did to assassinate that fire-breathing bastard, it's absolutely all meaningless if his quirkless, worthless son was now in charge. But then, he couldn't help but grin out of annoyance. But then soon, somebody outside of his office room, as the same person being looks exactly the same as Copy, as this is his son, Nato Monoma. As for some reason, his son couldn't help but smirk, have that of a devious look on his face. See what happens when you put all your eggs in one basket, you dumbass old man. You end up failing like a fool that you are. As he walks down the hall and couldn't help but basically get everything prepared. Given that, he still plans on heading to UA University. Back in that of his office, still looking at that of the staticky TV, within soon getting a call saying, yes, this is Kinjiro Monoma. Can I, within saying, Supreme Leader, sir. Within, as the person being on the phone being Redestro, as the man continues listening to that of his leader saying, sir, do not have to worry. We still have plans, ways to basically overcome this. You need to give me time. I know I can basically get Coding Industries under our thumb. The technology that company has will accelerate our plans to control Japan in only mere months. You have to believe me, sir. I can handle this. Just give me some more time. But then, feeling like a sweat drop is basically coming down that of the blonde-haired man's face. Within, hearing a lot as his facial expressions finally come down, saying, thank you, sir. Just give me some time. Surely I can handle this. But then, saying, by the glory of the Meta Liberation Army. At that, he basically hangs up. Before then, he couldn't help but sigh, saying, I need to think of something. Something, damn it. But then, as the man couldn't help but try to think and think and think before drawing a blank, saying, damn it, what the hell? I can just kill the damn brat by assassinating him, but it wouldn't do anything. Not to mention, all those bastards, that bastard pro hero Nova would be on the high alert now. I can't let the Meta Liberation Army and my company get under the crosshairs of the pros. I need some way to basically put them down. Some way to get my foot in the door of coding. Then thinking, but what to do? As the blonde-haired man's predicament is just growing even more and more, as he just couldn't help but just think of the simpler options. Currently at Coding Industries, in the boardroom meeting hall, where that of the board of directors always stay at, and given that, Hatsune, Kanabe, and Genbu are there, as they are also members of the board, but were trusted by the former CEO after all. With one of the board members, basically a bland, boring guy, couldn't help but say, Yayorozu, what is the meaning of this? Why weren't we informed about that of Hisashi's decision on naming his son as his successor? As then another board member spoke up, as it being a woman who basically has no distinguished features whatsoever, as she also looks pretty boring and bland, as she's saying, I have to agree on this. Why weren't we informed about Izuku Midoriya, Hisashi's son, being the next CEO? If anything, this has to be illegal. Within, Kurobe couldn't help but basically sigh, saying, are you idiots really that desperate for more power? Within, everybody looking at that of the number 5 pro, with him huffing, saying, look, this actually is legal. The company was always going to be under Izuku's hands after all. You guys may be the board of directors, and y'all may be sponsors to the company, but let's face it, Izuku was always planned on being CEO. Did any of you really expect him not to choose his own son over all of you? Please. Within, the man couldn't help but basically scoff and look down. Within, Hatsune, also in that of the meeting room, but not wearing a suit, but still in that of his, mechanic equipment, saying, true. I may not know all the legal mumbo jumbo and jargon like that, but he's basically right. This was a contract. Izuku was always planned on being CEO of the company. Nobody was going to take his spot. Within, seeing the vice president, Matsumo basically flinch at that. Before then, Genbu spoke up saying, the legal proceedings was always meant for Izuku Midoriya to be president and CEO of Coding Industries. This was under direct laws in case anything happened to Hisashi. Normal circumstances when passing the torch of CEO to their successor would always happen when that successor reached the age of 20. It would give them time to prepare when they became CEO of the company. But right now, since Hisashi's death, we had to speed it up, given the legal documents to make sure that none of Hisashi's stocks went under or was split among all of you. So that means all the stocks and all of the proceeds, alongside equipment and authorizations, go to Izuku and Izuku alone. If you believe that this is illegal and it basically undermines all of you, within, soon placing his hand over that of the holographic table screen, placing in a key code, before then saying, look at this, each and every one of you. Read the legal documents of Coding Industries, especially about that of your contracts being part of the board. Within, as they all read over this, within, many of them couldn't help but basically gasping out of annoyance, that of irritation, and some in that of frustration as well. With even Matamoto reading it saying, the legal documents stand. This was always meant to happen, no matter what we say or what we do. And if we break any of these laws, everyone, we all basically are fined and trialed for that of undermining the company and illegally taking funds. Within hearing that, one of the board members surprisingly stands out a little more, as he has that of horns that make him look like that of a bull. Within saying, this is truly absurd. You expect us to listen and basically take orders from that of a 18-year-old brat? Within, Kurobe stands up saying, yes, we do. Or are you wanting to be fired? Miller. Within, hearing that of the board member's name being Miller, within him couldn't help but huffing and out of annoyance before sitting back down. Within, Genbu saying, if you also read a little bit more, you also know another thing. Within, showing that of a certain line in that of the document saying, Izuku Midoriya will be under that of our tutelage, under myself, Kenta, and Kuroki as well. The three of us will basically mentor him and prepare him for what's to come to be CEO after all. Originally, he was planning on going to university, but we'll basically mentor him while preparing for his schooling after all. This will teach him to be flexible as time goes on as CEO. If you have any objections to this, then many of them raised their hands before Genbu could even say anything as his eye twitched, while still having that of a stoic, bland face, saying, then drop them. If any of you disagree to this or try to take this to court, or even to that of the government, saying that we are basically embezzling money or trying to undermine all of you, I will let you know this. You will lose, because none of you have the rights to this company. If you all recall, none of you whose family name or main name is Midoriya. Is that clear? The Midoriyas have the right and say of this company. All of us are supposed to make sure that this company stays afloat in one way or another, not undermine those who own it. Do I make myself clear? But then, a few of the board members couldn't help but take this. Before them, one of them could help say, so you just expect us to basically take orders and listen to a quirkless brat. But then, hearing that, all three men couldn't help but feel annoyed hearing one of their co-workers call their honorary nephew a quirkless brat. But then, as Kurobe was about to use his quirk, that's when Genbu spoke up saying, that quirkless brat is your boss now, Tokusei. And if I also remind you about your contract, quirk discrimination here at Coding Industries is very, very intolerable. So we'll give you at least one chance. Discriminate about that of your CEO again, and you're out of here. Do I make myself clear? Within hearing that, you could actually feel the cold chill down his voice. Even though it was bland and unassuming, you basically could feel the malice behind those words towards the man known as Tatsuse. Within, the man couldn't help but flinch before then saying, understood. Genbu saying, now, with all that said, this meeting is adjourned. We can all now need to get back to work. Within, as all that of the board members basically leave the room, within soon, the vice president saying, Mr. Yaoyorozu. Within, Genbu looking back at that of the vice president saying, what is a Matsumo? Within, him couldn't help but basically flinch a little bit saying, oh, well, I was wondering where the CEO is. Shouldn't he be involved in this meeting? Within, that's when Kurobe, putting on that of his hero helmet, within saying, he's busy. After what happened with the past CEO, we decided to move the Midoriyas here into that of the company. Originally, this place has that of a whole penthouse apartment building on the top of the floor. If I recall, it takes up at least that of 3 floors of the company building. With Matamoto saying, I see. Well, if it's too much to ask, I was wondering if I can meet that of my new superior sooner or later if I can. Within hearing this, all 3 men saying, give it time. Like we said, we need to prepare him for what's to come as CEO. Within hearing this, saying, of course, I understand. As he soon bows before walking out of the room. Within, as everything's quiet, within Kenta saying, geez, that guy is so damn spineless. Kuroki couldn't help but huff and crossing his arms saying, tell me about it. When he first came to this company and basically worked his ass off to reach this high, I couldn't help but admire the guy. But when meeting him in person, within, Genbu couldn't help but sigh saying, Matsumo is a good person. He's a hard worker and devoted, but he's an easily pushover. It's because of him being an easy pushover that he was able to climb up the ranks. His hard work mentality and always going above and beyond what people expect of him. It's the reason on why he became this high as the vice president. Hisashi saw that potential. Hell, it's because of that reason he was thinking about making him part of the inner circle. But then, Kenta's saying, yeah, but the guy is too much of a damn yes man. He would basically take every word that we, or especially what Hisashi would say, to basically God levels. It's not when I realized he's not really a, hard worker. He's a suck-up that will take any opportunity to basically show off and prove on how useful he is. With Kuroki, also couldn't help but basically click his tongue saying, all the more reason we need to keep his distance away from Izuku. Izuku would probably see his intentions as good, but at the same time, he would basically take anything that Izuku said with gospel, and possibly to the point that he would take it even too seriously. Izuku needs people to basically remind him that there are some good people out there and some bad. Even with the best intentions, can always end up screwing you over. Then Genbu saying, all the more reason to prepare. Then saying, also, are they arriving anytime soon? Then Kenta basically pulling out that of his phone before typing on a certain app that actually tracks that of the 01 driver. Then saying, yep, they just left that of their old apartment complex and arriving actually. Then, hearing this, Genbu saying, the quicker they arrive, the better we can basically keep an eye on them. Then, looking at that of his pro-hero best friend, saying, Kuroki, tell me. Then, looking back at that of the long-haired ravenette, with Genbu continue saying, did you find out about those bastards? Saying, you're not going to get this. They didn't really spoke of anything. Hell, they even called for a lawyer as soon as they got the chance. However, they didn't need to say anything. But given that we had cameras and saw Izuku basically kick all their asses, even while the building was on shutdown, the Metal Liberation Army is the cause of this. It wouldn't be put it past them if they're the ones who killed Hisashi. Then, hearing that, Genbu saying, figures. Then, Kenta saying, damn, I knew for sure, but how did they know about that of Izuku and Inko? And then, blinking multiple times saying, Aldera. Kuroki can help but basically snap his fingers using his suit saying, right on the money, Kenta. We wonder on how the hell did the Metal Liberation Army knew that Izuku and Inko were connected to Coding Industries. Hisashi made it 100% clear that he wanted his business life and his family life separate. However, we overlooked that of one thing when trying to give Izuku a normal life outside of fame, glory, and glamour, and richness, and all that other lifestyle shit. One of the supporters, and who have been supporting that of Aldera High School, came from that of 3 companies, actually. One being Zion Industries, the second, Feel Good Incorporated, and last but not least, Detnera Industries. In simpler terms, Aldera High School was basically funded by the Metal Liberation Army. With that, hearing that, Kenta saying, shit. And I thought for sure that we covered all our bases. Hisashi made himself a target mainly just to keep everyone else safe, even ourselves. And look what that got him. Then all 3 of them couldn't help but look down. Even that of Genbu, as his stoic, not caring face basically showed that of a glimpse of pure sadness through his eyes and facial expression. But then, him going back to his stoicness saying, even so, they picked the wrong decision of not just going after our company, but also going after our family. Kuroki, how long do you think it will take to get a case over that for Detnera, or probably to expose them? But then, Kuroki saying, that's the thing. The Metal Liberation Army has been building over years since their original founder, Destro, basically got killed and arrested after all. And seeing that they've basically invoked themselves into other facets of life, such as support company, business, I wouldn't be surprised if they're basically also in politics. and also the media too. All we can do is basically get rid of one of them one at a time without the proper resources or evidence to take them all out. If I was the number one hero, I could probably do it without any breaking a sweat, even with having to take some, precautions with the laws. But I'm the number 5 pro hero in Japan. I still gotta go through certain regulations. The Hero Public Safety Commission's been cracking down a lot more lately, since All Might hasn't been making certain appearances like he used to. Within hearing that, soon Kens is saying, right, that's so true. Last year, All Might has barely been showing himself. Even more than lately, All Might Assassins have barely shown up. Even when certain people tried to call out All Might, even at his agency, there was nothing at all. So to be honest, it's almost like within Genbu saying All Might is starting to lose his steam. Most likely, our number one hero is going to be retiring sooner than later. With that, and soon Genbu saying all the more reason that the world needs a Kamen Rider. And Izuku is that Kamen Rider now. Currently on that of the highway on Tokyo, heading to that of Cody Industries HQ is that of Izuku and Inko, riding in that of a moving van, and behind them is that of a moving truck, wanting to bring all of their stuff to that of Cody Industries penthouse apartment complex. Within, Izuku couldn't help but basically look down and look outside, as he can't help but remember everything that has happened. Taking spot as CEO, not to mention about what happened just a few hours ago too. Currently at Masafu at Izuku's old apartment complex building, as many people basically moving around all of Izuku's stuff alongside Inko and everything else. It's that of a moving truck. Helping out is Izuku alongside Inko and also Kaina as well. Within, Izuku saying, "You really don't have to do this, Miss Sasumi," or should I say Lady Nagant, saying, "Don't. Lady Nagant is dead and I'm just Kaina Sasumi, just doing my duty as your guardian. And you can also call me Kaina too." Within hearing that, Izuku saying, "Okay, Miss Kaina," saying, close enough, but yes, I'm helping you guys out because it's necessary, not just because it's my job, but because I would just want to as well." With Inko also carrying some boxes saying, "Thank you again, Kaina. It means a lot to us." Within, heading into that of the box, heading downstairs. Within, seeing all of their belongings tucked and put away properly in that of boxes and also in that of wrap. Mainly all of Izuku's collectible, All Might figurines, posters, and everything else, as he wanted to make sure that they all stay in mint condition after all. When Kaina always saw that of the, so much All Might memorabilia from that of Izuku's room, she couldn't help but think that he's way too much of a fanboy. However, she did notice that of other stuff too, of heroes outside of just All Might. Like, for example, an old poster of her back when she was still a pro for the HPSC. Not to mention that of a, limited edition display of Aizawa's goggles before they discontinued them because for some reason they made a law where they can't sell merch of underground pros. And the last one was that of a super rare limited edition figurine of O'Clock, the pro hero that went missing all those many years ago actually, with Izuku still looking at all of his things before then, saying, "All right, we should probably head there now. Don't want to worry my uncles after all." Within, as Inko was about to head to the van, with that of Kaina, as Izuku was heading there too, before then saying, "Hey, Deku!" Within, hearing that voice, as Izuku couldn't help but sigh, recognizing saying, "Hey there, Kachan." Looking back, seeing the same ashen blonde Katsuki Bakugo, with that of a somewhat annoyed and irritated look on his face. More like he's more annoyed at the fact that he has to be here to begin with. Before then, hearing that voice saying, as it being Inko, noticing Bakugo saying, "Oh, Katsuki, what reason do you have to be here within?" Katsuki, no longer having the irritated face, but more of a nervous look on his face, saying, "I just need to talk to Izuku." And it's just kind of just saying Izuku's name kind of hurts him. With Inko, couldn't help but say, "Actually, Katsuki, we need to get going. I don't think it's time for it within." Izuku saying, "No, I can talk to Kachan before we go. We just gotta make it quick, right, Kachan?" Within looking at Bakugo with not even that of a look of, well, nervousness or shyness like he always did back in the day, but now just with a look of indifference. But then Bakugo, seeing this look, as he couldn't help but grit his teeth, saying, "Yeah, just a few minutes, that's all." But then Kaino was about to walk to that of Izuku, as she wanted to keep an eye, as she didn't really trust Bakugo, as of course she always looked at that of the blonde-haired ashen blonde, as he always knew what the bastard always did to that of her young master, as she always just wanted to basically put a bullet between his eyes so many times, but deciding not to. But even so, she still had a job to do. Before then, he's saying, "It's okay, Miss Kaina. It's just a few minutes. It won't be too long." Still a little bit nervous, but deciding to take that of her young master's words. Before then, they basically go over to the side, at least around that of the corner of the apartment complex, gated community, saying, "What do you want, Kachan? We need to make this quick," saying, "How long, damn it?" Within saying, "Huh? How long were you lying about you being rich, being so wealthy and all this? Did you pity me? Look down on me because of," saying, "Okay, Kachan, I'm gonna stop you right then and there." Within saying, you really came all this way thinking that I lied about that of, or kept the secret about me having that of coming from money and wealth. I thought for sure that you would basically apologize or say that sorry that you didn't make it to my dad's funeral because Aunt Mitsuki and Uncle Masaru was able to make it." Within saying, what does that have to? Because you want to know what they said when they say that they plan on going to that of my dad's funeral when I asked them why you didn't show up? Because what they said is that you had more important time with preparing to go to UA and training. Within hearing that, Bakugo could basically hear the words of annoyance, disgust, and hatred from that of Izuku's words, saying, "And what is that supposed to mean? I'm planning to become number one. I don't have time to go to a funeral of my dad." Then hearing that, saying, "I always thought that we could still be friends. I thought we could fix our relationship back in junior high school." It's also during that time I found out that I came from money as well, when Dad told me about us being in charge of coding industries. You know what Dad told me? That I had the right to tell anybody that I came from money. I thought I could tell you. Remember that? You may not even remember this, but I was planning on telling you that I'm in charge, that my family runs coding industries. But you want to know what you said? You want to know what you always told me? That it doesn't matter what happens, it doesn't matter what I do, or it doesn't matter on what I try to strive for. Whatever I do would be meaningless compared to you. Because you said yourself, you plan on becoming you plan on becoming the number one hero. No one else, everyone else is an extra and a footnote to that of your goal. Within hearing that, Bakugo could actually feel the spite coming from Izuku's words, as he didn't help know but hate this, despise the fact that his words are being tossed at him, saying, "So you were, and if you think that I was looking down on you, you got another thing coming. I never looked down on you. I've never despised you. You're the one that's self-projecting shit, not me." After that, I stopped trying to be friends, even during high school. I stopped giving a damn what you want or think. Even now, I still don't give a damn on what you're trying to basically pull or basically care about. Honestly, I really thought that this was the one chance that you could actually prove me wrong and change on how you basically view me or anything else. But once again, you were self-projecting on people that you don't even give a damn about at all. Within hearing that, Bakugo saying, and what makes you? Saying, you're lucky I didn't tell Mom about how you've always treated me. Within hearing this, it would basically break her heart. Because the only reason I never told her is because of her and Aunt Mitsuki's friendship. They're best friends, and I don't want to ruin that because of us. And you can keep pretending, saying that you're the most kind and caring-hearted person in front of my mom. I could care less about that. But what I care about is you staying the hell away from me. And so I can basically move on with my life. And so you can move on with yours. We're no longer in high school, Katsuki. We're grown-ups, adults. So it's about time you start acting like it, damn it. I gotta go. I don't want to keep my mom and Miss Kaina waiting. Well then, saying, good luck at UA, Katsuki. I hope you make it. With saying his words and his piece, he soon walks away. With Bakugo wanting to rage out, basically roar, growl, wanting to explode Izuku to tell him that he won't look down on him like that. Before then, trying to finally recognize each word that Izuku said and realize he's right. Absolutely right about him. That he hasn't changed. That he didn't care. That he could have told him about his life comes from wealth and everything. Not to mention, he could have basically told him about how he could help him improve his quirk. But he didn't. Because of course he ruined that himself. And in that small part, that small voice that basically begins screaming in Bakugo's brain saying, it's your fault. You could have expanded your quirk, your abilities as a pro, become the best if you didn't destroy your friendship with him. Now you're still basically behind because you know people from all over Japan are going to go to UA. You're going to be facing against the best of the best. And now you come from that of a ratty, dead-end school that barely had anything to do with that of quirk training. You had to work out yourself and basically do everything by yourself, where you could have gotten an advantage, and yet you wasted it by basically looking down on him. How do you think of it now? But then Bakugo couldn't help but grit his teeth so hard that you can almost think of him basically chipping a tooth and clenching his fist so hard that explosions begin to pop out of his clenched hands. As this anger, he thinks he's thinking it towards that of Izuku, but in reality, he's threatening his anger towards himself. He's just too blind to realize it. Within, Izuku gets back in the van. Before then, Inko saying, so what was all that about, Izuku? But then, Izuku playing on that of a fake smile and closing his eyes saying, nothing, Kachan just wishes us the best, that's all. Within hearing that, that's when Kaina starts at the van and they drive off. With Izuku couldn't help but stop smiling saying, goodbye, Kachan. I hope we never meet again. But doubtful for that, given that I plan on supporting UA after all. Knowing our luck, we're definitely going to be running into each other. Within getting out of his memories while still driving, seeing that of the massive building in the distance, as he can help but think, we're almost there. As the traffic begins to basically calm down, before then, soon explosions happens in the distance. As Kaina couldn't help but basically stop the van. Within Izuku realizing, what the, a villain attack? With soon seeing that of several villains driving by, and that of a pickup truck with that of tons of yen bills and that of rough sacks. Seeing that of a pro hero basically blitz through as the pro hero being Ingenium, alongside that of a few of his sidekicks that are able to keep up. Within Izuku saying, whoa, it's Ingenium! I think we have nothing to worry about. He'll be on the scene. Within, soon, kind of saying, possibly, we should probably not even worry about it. Before then, noticing that something is flying up into the air, as it almost looks like that of a person with a, winged quirk, actually. Within, she realizing, may not in case, actually. Within, Izuku noticing that of the winged quirk user too, saying, wait, is that a pro? Before realizing, no, I've never seen a pro like that before, even for sidekicks. Before thinking, wait, could they have been... Without warning, Izuku basically opens the door from the van before sliding back, before Inko saying, Izuku, where are you going? Saying, I think Ingenium may miss a person. Before then, Izuku looking around, seeing an alleyway. Before then, pulling something out of his jacket, as it being the 01 driver. Before then, placing on that of his belt, saying, authorize. Bringing out that of the pro key of the rising hopper, pro rise. Before then, Izuku having a serious look, before inserting the pro rise key, saying, henshin. Before then, that's when the digital 01 grasshopper jumps around and out of the alleyway over and over again, even on top of the building before slamming down onto Izuku. Rising Hopper! Before materializing that of the 01 driver's Kamen Rider suit. Within, the eyes glow that of a bright red or red. Before then, you could even see the armor glowing in the dark as well. And out of the shady alleyway, it almost makes Izuku look menacing. Before finishing saying, a jump in the sky forms into that of a rider kick. Then Izuku realizing, gotta get there quickly. But even with how fast, even though this suit basically makes me fast, I'm not fast enough. Before then, he gets a call through that of his suit. Before then, as it being from Kenta saying, Izuku, why are you being in your Kamen Rider suit? You're supposed to make it to ride back here at coding. With then saying, sorry, there's a villain attack. And I think that there's more than one villain actually. With then, Kenta saying, of course there is. Alright then. What do you need? Saying, Ingenium is involved alongside his sidekicks. However, I want to make sure to help out. But I'm pretty sure this suit doesn't make me fast enough to catch up with him. Saying, well, lucky for you, I made something that could actually help you catch up with him. But then Izuku hearing that saying, you did? What? With Kenta explaining, saying, there's a communication device. However, it's not technically a communication device. It's actually a support item that we made for you in the Kamen Rider suit. Within, pulling something out of that of the driver, as it looks like that of a phone. Within, saying, a phone? Put it to the scanner of your driver. Within, placing it near that of his driver. Before it says, changing to superbike, motorcycle mode, please stand by. Within, hearing that, as the satellite over that of Japan begins to shift and change before launching something down to Izuku. With Izuku completely wondering, wait, what is it? Before then, noticing something falling down to the ground, as then he moves out of the way. Before then, it soon stops right in front of him, as it looks like that of a giant phone, like that of the one he used for his driver, saying, whoa, that? But then, Kenta saying, before walking up to it, noticing that of a yellow app, without warning, he presses it before it says, Motor Rise! Before then, the giant phone transforms into that of a motorcycle, a custom-made street dirt bike. As soon it says Rise Hopper, as looking at that of the black and green dirt motorcycle, with it even having that of the same glow as his Kamen Rider suit, saying, "Whoa, this is amazing." Within saying, but I don't have a motorcycle license, saying, that's not going to stop you while being that of a vigilante, Izuku. Within realizing, yeah, guess you're right about that, uncle. Before then, getting on that of the motorcycle, saying, now, let's do this. Gripping the accelerator and then burning rubber right through that of the alleyway, blitzing through. Within, tons of people couldn't help but be completely shocked about that of somebody riding a motorcycle right through the streets, blitzing through that of the traffic. Before then, Inko and Kaina noticed that of Izuku in his Kamen Rider suit, riding a motorcycle, with Inko pretty worried, screaming, Izuku! Is he? Where did he get that bike? With then kind of saying, figures as much. That's that hero mentality of his. And she couldn't help but smile at that of her young master, saying, as much as I want to help out, I'll let him handle this. With then saying, plus, Lady Inko's safety comes first. Noticing a few of the sidekicks trying to keep the crowd down and also trying to, make sure that other people can basically leave while some are still stuck in traffic. While that of the villains and that of their pickup truck basically laugh about the fact that they were able to get away with this, with one of the villains looking like that of a big, bulky dude with a giant smile, big hands, and basically big beady eyes, wearing a ski mask over his weirdly shaped head. The other being a big guy with that of long arms and basically claws coming out of his fingers, also wearing a ski mask too. And that of the driver, basically just having that of a ski mask. However, his face is covered with that of a black visor. But then the driver saying, "Hey, Hero B, everything good up top?" Before noticing that of the winged villain, basically soaring in the sky, saying, "Everything good up here. Outside of Ingenium, basically on your tail. You should be good." But then the big guy say, "Remember, if anything bad happens to the truck, you take the money back to the hideout." Saying, "Yeah, I'm aware. Don't worry. Once I get the money somewhere safe, I'll get you guys out. Ingenium may be a top-ranking pro, but he's no way in hell he'll be able to handle all of us combined." Blitzing towards that of the villains in the truck is Tensei Ida, the current Turbo Hero Ingenium, saying, "Villainous target up ahead. On my way to apprehend the villains." Within, as he soon jumps up into the air, within using his exhaust to basically fly over that of the truck, and was planning on basically stopping it with a powerful kick before the driver, as the getaway driver saying, "Hang on!" Before it then does a spin drift over that of Ingenium. However, he almost looks like he's about to lose control before then getting control over his steering, before then changing gears and driving even further. Before then, Ingenium realizing, dang, he must have some kind of quirk that allows him to have good driving skills. A maneuver like that does not come so easily. However, little did the Tensei know, he was getting that of unwelcome but somewhat appreciated backup. But then blitzing past that of the Turbo Hero being Izuku, but then wondering, wait, somebody on a motorcycle? There are only a small majority of pros who drive motorcycles. So who? But then blitzing past that of the crowd, keeping an eye on that of the flying villain, but focusing on that of the trucks. But then soon one of the big guy saying, "Hey, we got another pro." Within the long arm guy saying, "Huh? I've never seen a pro like that before. His getup looks pretty weird." Within soon the getaway driver notices him in that of his rearview mirror saying, "Don't worry, I got this." Before flooring the gas even more. However, Izuku not stopping there, floors accelerate his rise hopper even farther, as he's catching up with them pretty easily, saying, "Whoa, this bike is so fast. I didn't even think it could keep up with even Ingenium." Within, Kensei spoke up saying, "Say hello to the Rise Hopper, one of the fastest motorcycles known to man. A Kamen Rider is nothing without his bike. This bike, basically, I made this bike supercharged only for that of a Kamen Rider. Heck, you can even drive it when you're not even in that of your Kamen Rider suit too." Within, he's hearing this saying, "Don't worry, there's a camouflage mode that basically changes his appearance, so people won't expect you to be that of the Kamen Rider 01 when you're doing your vigilante things, or when you're just enjoying a drive around Japan." But then hearing that, he's saying, "Thanks, Uncle. Now then, I got some villains to stop." Accelerating even more, that's when the long arm villain with the large claws saying, "Out of the way, hero!" Within, dodging out of the way of the attack. Before then, Izuku jumps up and kicks his other arm, basically breaking it without even trying. Within, the villain saying, "What the hell? How strong was that kick?" But then the big guy saying, "Don't worry, I got him." slamming his massive arm towards Izuku. However, Izuku basically dodges out of the way of the attack before then grabbing the guy saying, "Sorry about this," before then grabbing him out, and then as he rolls on the ground, before then the other guy saying, "Hey, what the hell did you do to my buddy?" But then saying, knowing Ingenium, he'll catch up and he'll basically get your buddy. As for you guys, with then getting in front of that of the truck as the guy was about to accelerate. However, Izuku doesn't even let him, before then kicking that of the door of the truck, but then seeing the dent, before then feeling the unease of the force of the kick as he couldn't help but just basically swerve around. How Izuku not stopping there, he soon kicks the truck once again as around that of its tire, causing it to flip in the air. But soon the bags of money fall in the air, while that of the two villains hold on for dear life as they flip in the air as well. Before then, they soon land back on that of the ground before flipping again and stopping. Seeing that the two villains basically have a huge bad case of whiplash, with Izuku basically stopping his bike by doing that of Kira slide. But then getting off the bike, within the flying villains seeing this can help but say, "No, damn it!" Before noticing that of the money, saying, "Sorry guys, I can't save you, but I'll get the money for you guys as well." Before flying off, however, not stopping there, as Izuku jumps on that of the truck, using his bike, and then flies up into the air on his bike, within the flying villain saying, "What the hell?" At that moment, Izuku gets off his bike, before flipping in the air, and then bringing his leg out, before saying, "Rising Impact!" as he soon kicks the villain in the chest, sending that of the wing villain flying and crashing into the ground, creating a crater into that of the road. Before then, Izuku gets back on his bike before landing. But then, Ingenium, seeing that of the villains all defeated and beaten, not with that of the ones on the truck completely knocked out, before Ingenium saying, "Who are you? I've never seen a pro like you before. Are you new?" But then, Izuku saying, "This is all yours, Ingenium. Apologies, but I got somewhere else to go first." Giving off a 2-finger salute, before then blitzing off into the distance. Before then saying, "Wait, I didn't get your name." With that, soon, Tensei removing his helmet saying, is he the way he moved, as he remembers that of certain individuals back in the day that he encountered during his prime. With soon, he couldn't help but smile saying, looks like another vigilante rises up in the ranks once again. With then, Izuku heads to that of Coding Industries, making sure to take that of a detour, not wanting the heroes to, lead back to him after all. Before arriving, he notices that one of the garage doors is open, where they used for that of shipping after all. Entering inside, before then the garage door closes, with that of his armor and his bike being the only thing glowing, before the lights come on, as then Kaina, alongside that of Kuroki, Keta, and Genbu, basically arrive, with Inko basically having tears in her eyes, worried for that of her son, saying, "Hey guys," before then removing that of the driver, as then reverting back to normal, getting off the bike too. But then Keta say, "So, how was it? I need to get that of data on that of the motor on the rise hopper after all." But then saying, "It's not half bad. It's pretty cool and pretty fast. And honestly, if this is what driving a motorcycle was, I would have gotten my motorcycle license sooner." But then soon Genbu saying, "Another thing that we need to make sure that you can get if you plan on driving that around when you don't have your duties here in the company." But then Izuku hearing this saying, right, sorry." But then Kenta couldn't help but remove that of his hero costume helmet saying, Not bad. Not bad indeed, Izuku. To be honest, I was expecting something a little bit crazy. But to be honest, he did pretty good on that of a, well, high-speed chase kind of pursuit. Musashi would be proud that all the hard work, that the fruits of his labors finally was shown. You did awesome out there. With then Izuku hearing this, as he also couldn't help but feel like about to tear up saying, "Thanks, uncle." Before then, Inko basically running towards Izuku and hugging him saying, "Izuku, I'm so glad you're okay. I was so worried, but I'm just glad that you're safe." And also, I thought the pros would then kind of saying most pros would definitely go after him, especially not introducing himself and not lingering around. And for a debut, he was supposed to stay around, but as a vigilante, he needs to move as quick as he can, not staying around just to bask in the glory. That's the kind of life that you need to live as a vigilante, Izuku. Are you prepared for this, young master? Within, Izuku looking at the bike, before then looking at his driver saying, "Yeah, I am. I'm ready, as both a CEO and as a Kamen Rider. Just you watch." Within, the very next day, the news soon spoke up with the same reporter as before saying, "Breaking news, and that's of downtown Shibuya. A villain robbed that of a metropolitan bank and was in hot pursuit by that of Turbo Hero Ingenium." As the villains were basically getting away, that's when a mysterious individual riding that of a powerful high-speed motorcycle took care of the villains without even breaking a sweat. Not only that, we even found out that there was actually a fourth villain in that of the Crosshairs as well, working with that of the villains who robbed the bank too. The same individual was able to defeat him and leave him for that of the police. We believe that this was that of a new hero debuting, but seeing that they didn't bask in the glory or even introduce themselves to that of the crowd, it's soon to say that this person most definitely could be a vigilante. We are only able to get that of certain footage from that of bystanders and even that of Ingenium's camera as well. But by the look of the person's outfit, it seems like that of a bug, possibly. By closer look, maybe a grasshopper. Their quirk may revolve around being a grasshopper, but if that is the case, why use a motorcycle to even need to? All we now know is now, Japan and all of Tokyo has now a new vigilante on the rise. And who is this mysterious vigilante? More at 12, back at you, Sakuni. As the TV soon turns off, as the person that saw this was Dabi. Basically, seeing all of that saying, "So, you really shown up out there, Midoriya. Not bad, kid. Not bad. Hope you enjoy the spotlight while you can, because you won't be the only Kamen Rider out there sooner than later." With that, he couldn't help but basically smirk, with flames wisping off of his body. But for some reason, you could almost see like that of a shadow of a falcon over him. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Love to read them. So, how did you guys like this? This was basically set up chapters for people reacting to that of Izuku being a CEO and everything else, and about the things that Izuku needs to prepare for while becoming a Kamen Rider vigilante. Also confronting that of Bakugo. And let's just say I have some plans for Bakugo, but I'm not sure if you guys are gonna like him though. Not to mention, as for the next the next Kamen Rider, well, I think it's going to be obvious on who's going to be them just yet. So yeah, you just gotta wait out and see. Anyways, with all that said, this is Leon Mookie signing out. Later, guys. Hope you all take care.